For Perry Moore, giving Kentucky 3 inches height advantage. The Atlantic Coast Conference Terps against the Southeastern Conference Wildcats, and the Terps get the tap as O'Brien gets it, moves into front court on the left side. He passes on to Davis, then over to the right side to Necencic. Off the knee of O'Brien. It's not over the 10-second line, but awful close. He passes one, firing toward the middle to Halleck, who comes off on the right side, watches Necencic go through, pivots, and then passes one outside to O'Brien. Bryan exchanges a pass with Nick Davis. Then gives down the side to Necencic, back to O'Brien to Halleck, who moves down the alley to the right with Brewer on him. Fakes him, and Brewer fouled him, trying to block him from the rear. It's the first foul of the ball game against Kentucky's Johnny Brewer. We've played 28 seconds as 6-foot Jim Halleck goes to the Maryland free throw line. 2 shots coming. Halleck shooting, he hit it. Maryland is in front, 1-0. Halleck on the line for his second shot, has a double safety, both of them in back court as he shoots good. Maryland leads 2-0. Cats have the ball for the first time with Calvert moving in front court, passing left side to Cox, back to Calvert, out to Hatton. Hatton looks at Brewer, feeds him. Bounce pass comes outside to Calvert, moves in. 25-foot one-handers, no good. Rolls off the rim, tapped by Cox, no good. Taken off by Hatton, out deep in the circle. Behind, he's back to Brewer. Here's a jump shot, 15-footer, no good. Off the rim, Hatton knocks it down. Cox has got it, shot good. Johnny Cox with his first field goal, the first one of the ball game. Ties it up 2-2 as Maryland attacks. O'Brien fades down into the left corner. Moving out with it is Necencic to Halleck. To the right side to O'Brien. Right back out deep to Necencic. Pass down the left side to Davis, back to Necencic to Halleck on the free throw line. Breaks in, gets by Brewer, and the shot's blocked by Brewer as he comes up with it, gets his own rebound and flips out to O'Brien. A 20-footer's no good. Beck picks off the rebound. Whips it out to Calvert, up in front court to Cox. Fakes, drives, lays it up, and no good, rolled off the rim. Calvert ties up with Halleck on the rebound. Calvert 5'11", Halleck 6 feet. Gives Maryland 1 inch height advantage at the Kentucky free throw line. Cox has legs locked or crossed with O'Brien. The officials are going to permit it, though, since O'Brien is about a half foot in behind Cox and gets the tap, knocks it down, and picked up by Nick Davis. Davis moves up past the 10-second line. High pass to Halleck, down in the right corner to Necencic, who moves up the side, then gives to O'Brien. Cox falls down. Necencic, a pass behind his back. Davis shoots and misses. Nice rebound by Perry Moore. Double team, can't shoot, and he's tied up as he jumps to shoot. Hatton and Beck both went for him, and Hatton will jump. Perry Moore at 6'4" will have 1 inch height advantage on Hatton. Score 2-2. Here's the toss and the tap to Maryland. Nick Davis out deep to Halleck, down the right to Bob O'Brien. Slowly back out front to Davis, back to O'Brien to Davis. Davis moving to the left side now as Maryland's playing it only one man out front. Off to Halleck. O'Brien goes through, comes back, gets the pass, fakes Cox. Brewer picks up on him, bounces one in that Cox knocks down. Brewer picks up, feeds Calvert. It's 2-2 with Hatton. Calvert goes to the free throw line, feeds to Cox, down the middle, he walks with it, and it's out of bounds to Maryland. 2 minutes gone, and the score is 2-2. Here's Calvert going through to steal, but the pass was over his head. As Davis anticipated, flipped the pass high to O'Brien, and front court to Davis to Necencic off the left side to Perry Moore, who's come off the pivot, takes it back to the pivot, gives to Moore, over to Nick Davis. Davis to the left side to Necencic, spins in on Hatton, almost lost the ball, got off balance. Back out to Necencic. Toms the ball, moving to his right now, giving to O'Brien. 17.5 minutes to go here in the first half. Score still tied 2-2. Maryland playing it very deliberately. O'Brien cut off by Beck on the switch. Out to Necencic now. Necencic to Halleck. Halleck breaks in on Calvert, spins, goes by him and lays it up, and no good, but it's tapped up by Moore, no good, and Beck rebounds for Kentucky. Tripped coming out. He throws it right to O'Brien of Maryland. 2-2, and the shot by O'Brien is no good. Beck high for another rebound. Slings himself clear and throws it out of bounds, but Kentucky will get it as it touched off O'Brien's arm. Up to Calvert, to Hatton. Back to Calvert. One bounce dribble and over to Beck. He fakes, goes under, lays it up, no good, and Maryland's got it again. Bob O'Brien has it back quickly in Maryland's front court with the score remaining 2-2. After 3 minutes, 15 seconds, neither team has found the mark. One field goal, that by Johnny Cox of Kentucky. 2 free throws by Halleck of Maryland. Here's Necencic to Halleck, breaks down the middle. Brewer stops him, and he walks into the 3-second zone and passes out, and Cox intercepts, moves up in front court and misses the shot. Calvert misses a rebound, and it's Maryland's ball again. Maryland's calling timeout. First one of the ball game, as neither team can find the hole in that hoop right now. Harry Lancaster has joined Adolph Rupp on the Kentucky bench. It was doubtful whether he would be here tonight or not. The Kentucky assistant was in Birmingham last night getting a look at Alabama, as Kentucky possibly could play Alabama in the Sugar Bowl, the 29th of this month. Alabama going against Duke last night, which Kentucky will be playing Tuesday night in Durham. With all the planes being grounded today in many areas of the country, Harry Lancaster just now arrived for this basketball game here tonight. It's a 2-2 game with Johnny Cox field goal matching the 2 free throws by Jim Halleck of Maryland. And we have 16 minutes and 21 seconds here in the first half of play. When we go back, it'll be in the possession of Maryland at the 10-second line. Baldy Gibb, speaking of travel troubles today because of the ground fog, was scheduled to go to Dallas to see SMU. The Mustangs will be here at the Coliseum to play Kentucky in the second game of the doubleheader Friday night of next week. However, Gibb, the Henry Clay High School coach, was unable to get out of town, and Humza Yessin of Frankfort, who was scheduled to go down to South Carolina, was unable to get there to see Furman in action tonight. Well, here we go back to play now. Maryland's got it. Score tied 2-2. Terps playing it cautiously as Nosensic out deep with it. Passes to O'Brien on the right side. Takes a return pass over to Nick Davis. Back out to Nosensic. In the pivot to Moore. Back in close quarters to Nosensic. Breaks by Hatton and misses. Beck rebounds. Whips it out to Calvert. In front court to Brewer, breaking down the right side. Pulls up. Cox goes to the pivot. Pass out to Calvert to Hatton at the top of the circle. One-hand jump shot's no good. Johnny Brewer gets the rebound. Moves off to the right side with it. Hooks a pass to Beck at the free throw line. Back to Calvert. 25-footer's no good. Tapped up by Beck, no good. Fight for the ball, and Johnny Brewer's got it with a whistle being blown from the outside. Johnny Cox of Kentucky is tagged with his first personal foul. Well, we had one low-scoring game this afternoon as Wisconsin beat Washington of St. Louis 41-38, and this game is not going at a much faster pace. 4 minutes, 21 seconds have been played, and only one field goal has been scored as Halleck of Maryland shoots and misses. And the score remains 2-2 as Brewer rebounds to Vernon Hatton. Moves in front court, passes out deep to Johnny Cox, back to Hatton. Hatton passes right side to Calvert as Kentucky balances for the attack. Cox shoots from the right side, good. Johnny Cox with his second field goal on a 20-foot jump shot. Puts the Cats on top by 4-2. For the first time, Kentucky leads. Nosensic of Maryland drives to the free throw line, goes to Perry Moore on the right side. Calvert knocked one down as it was coming back to Nosensic. Here's up to Cox, jump shot, no good. Comes off the rim, Perry Moore knocks it down for Maryland, and it's batted off Cox's knee into the Kentucky bench. Maryland puts it in play. We're into the last 15 minutes of the first half. Kentucky on top 4-2. Perry Moore on the right side for Maryland. Passes out deep to O'Brien, to Nosensic, to Davis, breaking to the right out to Halleck, to Nosensic on the left side. Back out deep to Davis, to Nosensic on the left. Into Perry Moore on the pivot. Out to Nick Davis, 6'1.5" guard, to O'Brien, to Halleck, to O'Brien. A screen, he comes off the right side. The switch to Halleck, lays it in, moving onto the basket for Maryland's first field goal after 5.5 minutes of play. Tied up again, 4-4. As Vernon Hatton moves back in front court for Kentucky, off the left side to Cox, back to Calvert, breaking down the left side. Back to Cox, out to Johnny Brewer, over to Vernon Hatton. Right side is cleared. Hatton moves to the right side with a screen off Beck, takes a 20-foot jump shot way short. Cox taps up no good, and Maryland's got it as Halleck picks it up on the bounce. Hooks pass up to Bob O'Brien. Down the left side to Nosensic, who stumbles, gets away from Hatton and lays it up no good. Ed Beck rebounds and has it knocked down by O'Brien. Picked up by Hatton, fed to Calvert, breaking in front court. Down the middle, he lays it up no good, and then he goes to the floor with a thud. The foul is blocking against Maryland. Jim Halleck commits the first personal foul by the Terps after 6 minutes and 8 seconds of play. Jerry Calvert's on the Kentucky free throw line. Cox of Kentucky, Halleck of Maryland are the only two men who've scored. Calvert shooting two. First one, no good. Hit short of the rim and bounced back into the alley. Big crowd on hand tonight as Calvert's second shot is good, and Kentucky has the lead 5-4. Maryland attacking now as Bob O'Brien moves past the 10-second line with it. Down the left side to Perry Moore, who has come off the pivot out to Necencic to Davis. Back to O'Brien to Davis, and off the left side on the bounce pass to Necencic. Looks at Moore, one bounce dribble and out to Davis. Bounce pass and right in at his feet to Halleck. Fakes Brewer, takes the ball away from him. Up to Hatton, over to Johnny Brewer. Knocked down by Davis, picked up by Halleck, and whipped back in front court to Perry Moore. Here's Halleck with it, down the right side to Bob O'Brien. On the right side at a forward position is Necencic. Gets it, feeds Halleck in on the pivot at the free throw line. Back to O'Brien. Set shot, good from 30 feet. Bob O'Brien with his first field goal, and Maryland leads 6-5. Fans yelling for some action now as Vernon Hatton in front court gives to Calvert. Off the left side to Cox. Pops that one-hander. It's no good. Comes off the rim to Johnny Brewer. Goes under the basket. Hooks it in. Johnny Brewer gets his first field goal to put the Cats on top by 1 point again, 7-6. This is Kentucky's third lead of the game. They've had one 2-point lead. Now Bob O'Brien of Maryland passes to Nick Davis on the left side. High pass to Perry Moore in the pivot. Davis goes by. Moore moves out to the top of the circle. Gives to Halleck in close quarters. Out deep to Bob O'Brien. O'Brien a one-bounce dribble. Pass to Nick Davis on the left side. Two hands overhead pass out to O'Brien to Halleck. Halleck moves to the right. Hands off and screens for Necencic, who shoots and misses. Off with the rebounds Calvert. Can't handle it, but Johnny Brewer's got it on the fly. Moves up in front court, takes a 15-foot shot that's up high off the back of the rim, no good. Cox slaps it up and no good. Brewer picks it up and is fouled, being knocked to the floor. Blowing a personal foul is Perry Moore of Maryland, his first one. Each team's committed 2 personals. Johnny Brewer on the Kentucky free throw line. 2 shots coming. First one's good. That one was not a free throw. Correct us on it. They only pitched it up there to knock the net off the rim. Now it's good. 12 minutes and 17 seconds here in the first half of play as Calvert sticking to Nick Davis like a shadow as Brewer drops in his second free throw to make it 9-6, and that's the longest lead for either team. Up in front court, Bob O'Brien of Maryland. To Necencic, off the left side to Davis. Fakes to the middle and comes down the side and whips off to Necencic, who fakes Hatton but passes off on the left side to Moore. He moves up the side and gives off to Necencic. Breaks back into that keyhole with Beck on him. Kentucky does not have to worry too much about the switches here tonight as Maryland's tallest man's only 6'4". Here's a pass into the pivot to Perry Moore. Deals one out front to Bob O'Brien, who threatens to go down the right side with Cox on him. Cox stays right with him. High pass hook to Moore, lays it in. Perry Moore gets his first field goal for Maryland, and it's 9-8. Kentucky with a 1-point lead. Into back in the pivot. Wide open. He missed it. Tapped in by Johnny Cox. Third field goal by Johnny Cox. Kentucky 11, Maryland 8. Back in front court now is Halleck. Passes to O'Brien. To Perry Moore at the free throw line pivot. Out to Necencic. Moves to the left off the screen. Beck switches to pick him up. He arches a high pass out to O'Brien. O'Brien setting it up now. Some of the fans begin to yell, let's go with it. Nick Davis straight away pulls Calvert to him as he sets to shoot. Then moves to the right on a one-bounce dribble over to Halleck. Halleck goes to the free throw line. Moves in, gives off. Necencic's got the shot and misses. 10-footer. Johnny Brewer rebounds, whips to Calvert. Kentucky on the run. 3-2 break. Calvert pulls up, gives to Cox. Here he goes. It's good. Johnny Cox from the outside again with his 4th field goal makes it 13-8 for Kentucky. Bob O'Brien in front court gives to Nick Davis, to Necencic. Down the right side to Halleck. Necencic breaks. Halleck follows him on only one step and then gives to Nick Davis, who misses a one-hander. Brewer again rebounds but has it knocked away by Halleck. Picked up by Moore and over to Davis, who went in wide open and missed the shot, and Hatton is fouled as he gets the rebound by Perry Moore. It's the second foul on Perry Moore of Maryland. Stops the clock with 10 minutes and 24 seconds here in the first half. Vernon Hatton, who so far has been shut out, is on the free throw line for one try. Hatton's free throw is good. He's only the 4th Wildcat to score as we get our first substitution. Doc Weingarten of Maryland replacing Halleck. Weingarten, Doc Weingarten. Julian is the christened name from Washington, D.C., 19-year-old sophomore. Hatton shoots and misses. Rebound taken off by Weingarten, who's 6'4" and weighs 195. Here it is over to Davis, who flips one up there driving under that's no good. Johnny Brewer knocks it down and gets it for the Wildcats. Passes up to Ed Beck, takes a return pass to renew his dribble. Weingarten, by the way, scored only 4 points this year for Maryland. Here it is to Cox to Calvert. 30-foot set shot. No good. Short. Calvert goes for the rebound. Hatton snatched it away from him. Gives to Beck. Threatens to shoot. Over to Hatton to Calvert to Brewer. 20-foot set shot's good. Johnny Brewer with his second field goal. Makes it Kentucky 16, Maryland 8. Now the Terps are dropping behind. They're going to have to open up if the Cats can hold their feet to the fire. Nick Davis along the top of the circle, passes to Nasincic, takes a return pass and feeds her right back to Nasincic. Now on the right side to O'Brien to Nasincic out deep and straight away. Moves one bounce dribble to the right. Hatton playing him still loosely. Over to Weingarten. Weingarten moves to the right, giving to Nasincic, breaks through. Passes to Moore on the left side. 10-footers around the rim and out, and Hatton rebounds for Kentucky. Up the way to Calvert, to Johnny Cox on the left side. Back to Johnny Brewer. He whips one bad pass to Cox, who blindly saves right to O'Brien of Maryland. Up the way to Weingarten, who almost sneaked in on Ed Beck. Then passes over to Nasincic, back to Moore, wide open, he hooks it in. Perry Moore left unguarded, drops in his second field goal, and it's 16-10. Kentucky by 6 points. Johnny Cox on the left side, now passes deep to Hatton. Here's a whistle from the outside. The whistle was for the net, which had wrapped around the rim of the Kentucky basket. Hatton flipped one from right where he was standing, about 35 feet away. Kentucky has the ball out of bounds at the dividing line. Bounce pass into Jerry Calvert. Left hands a couple of bounces and then changes over on the dribble. Passes to Brewer, back to Calvert. Over to Cox, breaking through to the right. Double teamed, he gets the shot away, good. 7 or 8 feet to the right of the basket. Johnny Cox has picked up his 5th field goal, and he has equaled the point production of Maryland as Kentucky leads for the second time by 8 points. Now it's 18-10. Bob O'Brien passes up to Nasincic. Out to Weingarten, to Nick Davis. 30 feet straight away, passing to Perry Moore on the right side of a pivot. Back to Davis, off the screen he moves, and a 15-footer's no good. Glances off the rim. Weingarten gets it for Maryland, and his shot's over the rim, no good. Perry Moore rebounds and is tied up by Ed Beck. They exchange a couple of light taps. Then Moore pats Beck, who thinks he's fouled. He's lined up to guard against a free throw, and it's a jump ball, which prompts Moore to back away, and I think he should have had a couple. Tap goes over to Calvert, and he saves too late. And the fans right on top of the play boo the decision as Calvert rolled up into the lap of some spectators on the front row. Maryland takes over, trailing 18-10. Nasincic passes left side to O'Brien, right back to Nasincic. Back to O'Brien on the left side. O'Brien out deep to Davis. Maryland has her overloaded to the left. Davis off a double screen. Foul. Calvert pushing. First foul on Kentucky's Jerry Calvert. Each team has committed 3 personals. Doc Weingarten of Maryland shooting one with 7 minutes and 52 seconds in this first half of play. Weingarten shoots and misses. Beck slaps across the alley to Hatton. Hit Johnny Brewer in the back with it, and Hatton moved up to get it in front court. Brewer on the right side takes a 25-footer that misses everything. Weingarten screens out and lets it go out of bounds. Maryland's got it. Incoming pass to Nasincic to O'Brien. On the left side to Moore. Moore to Nasincic and out to Davis. Davis to O'Brien. Back to Nick Davis off the left to Nasincic. Maryland has not been budged from the absolute pattern, working to get their screens. And as they develop, they take the good shots. If they do not develop, they keep working the ball. Here's Nasincic, drives against Hatton, who knocks the ball off his foot out of bounds to Kentucky. Kentucky 18, Maryland 10. Calvert to Cox on the left side of Kentucky's front court. Back to Calvert, back to Cox. He threatens to shoot, breaks by Weingarten and lays it up no good, but he's fouled on the play by Moore, and that's his 3rd one. Only 4 personals against Maryland, but Moore has drawn 3 of them. And checking in now is Wayne McGinnis of the Terps, 19-year-old sophomore from Whitehall, Maryland. The redhead is 6'7", weighs 195. He's the biggest Terp. Has scored only 2 points this season, though. Johnny Cox of Kentucky, who has 5 of Kentucky's 7 field goals, is up for 2 free throws. Here's Cox with 7 minutes in the first half, shooting his first one good. Cox, incidentally, has 1 more point than Maryland. As Kentucky gets its longest lead of the game, Halleck comes off the Maryland bench. Cox flips his second free throw good. Kentucky 20, Maryland 10, as Halleck is waved into the Terp lineup. Going out is Weingarten. Maryland from the baseline in backcourt with Bob O'Brien moving in front court. Passing on the left side to McGinnis. Out to Nasincic to Davis to O'Brien on the right side. O'Brien breaks into the 3-second zone and then comes out of it up on the free throw line. Over to Nasincic. Down the left side to Davis. Fakes back. Hatton ready to go through. Held up and then give to him. Back to Nick Davis on the left side. Out to O'Brien. 35 feet straight away. Bounce pass to Halleck playing the pivot now. Brewer picks up as O'Brien takes the feeder pass off and then flips out to Nasincic to Nick Davis. Down the left side, the pass to McGinnis, back out to O'Brien by way of Nasincic. 30-foot set shot, it's no good. High off the rim is Brewer for the rebound and a pushing foul against Maryland's Halleck, his second foul of the game. Jim Halleck, a 6-footer trying to rebound against 6'7" Ed Beck, 6'3" Johnny Brewer, 6'4" Johnny Cox, trying to pick up a little of the height differential by use of the arms. Off the Maryland bench is Bob Hardiman as Johnny Cox goes to the Kentucky free throw line for one try. He shoots, it's good. 6 minutes, 23 seconds in the first half as the 21-year-old senior from Salisbury, Maryland, Bob Hardiman checks in. Bob O'Brien goes out. Hardiman, 6'3", weighs 185. Hardiman. Cox up for a bonus shot. This, incidentally, is the first bonus shot that Kentucky's had in this ball game, as they hold a lead of 11 points. Cox shoots, and it's good. Kentucky 22, Maryland 10. As the Terps go back to the attack with Nick Davis moving in front court, passing on the left side to McGinnis, back to Nasincic, out deep to Hardiman, to Nick Davis, deep with it, one bounce dribble and over to Nasincic, back to Davis, back to Nasincic. Threatens down the left side, then gives to Hardiman. Hardiman looks toward the pivot, then out to Nasincic to Halleck. Halleck breaks to the right, two-bounce dribble. He gives over to Davis, fights his way away from Calvert and gets a 10-foot jump shot that's in there. For Nick Davis, his first field goal of the game, and that is only the 5th field goal for Maryland. 22-12, Kentucky leads. Calvert in front court. Passes out deep to Johnny Brewer. Jump shot from 25 feet's no good, and Halleck rebounds on the bounce for Maryland. Whips one up the way to Wayne McGinnis. To Nasincic on the right side of the Maryland court to Nick Davis. Spins in, goes in close quarters with Calvert, then gives to Halleck to the left side to Nasincic. Out deep to Hardiman. Back to the right side to Nick Davis, back to Hardiman. Hardiman's directing the attack from out deep straight away. Over to Nasincic. Hatton invites the outside shot, and Nasincic drives. He walked with it, and it's out of bounds to Kentucky off the side of the back court. Hatton out of bounds with it, delays to get Nasincic out of the way, and then flips to Calvert, takes a quick return pass, sets it up for the Wildcats as they lead by 10 points. Threatens to the pivot, then gives over to Calvert to Cox on the left side. Out to Vernon Hatton. Here's a 35-foot one-hander, no good. Right off the rim to Nick Davis of Maryland, and Hatton knocked it down, took it away from him. Over to Beck. He holds it up over his head at the free throw line and gives out to Calvert over to Hatton on the left side. Hatton hooks to Beck, breaking through, and kicks off to Cox in the left corner. Shot, good. 6 field goals for Johnny Cox as Kentucky takes another 12-point lead. 24-12. Down the left side to McGinnis of Maryland. Over to Nick Davis. Calvert fouled him, trying to come through there in close quarters. Second foul on Jerry Calvert of Kentucky. And it's the 4th foul against the Wildcats, sending Maryland's Nick Davis to the free throw line for the first time. One shot coming. 4 minutes and 38 seconds to play in this first half. The shot good by Nick Davis. Incidentally, Kentucky led Maryland 39-31 at the half of the game last year in College Park. Bonus shot no good. Brewer taps across the alley to Hatton, who feeds up to Calvert in front court. Calvert flips off to Cox, moving down the left side. Right back to Calvert. Back to Cox, back to Calvert. Calvert sets, 30-footer, it's short. Up for the taps Beck, and he looks like he fouled getting into position. For Beck, it's personal foul number 1. Halting the clock with 4 minutes and 24 seconds as Beck commits an offensive rebounding foul. Kentucky 24, Maryland 13, as 6'7" Wayne McGinnis goes to the Maryland free throw line. The Terps as a team have hit 3 out of 6. McGinnis, a left-hander, shoots and misses. Rebound taken off by Calvert, whipped to Hatton, a 3-3 fast break with Hatton going into the 3-second zone, then passing deep to Beck, just crossing the dividing line. Back to Hatton to Brewer on the right side. Brewer watches Calvert, then passes deep to Hatton to Brewer at the top of the circle. He goes down the middle, gets open, and flips it up and in. Beck will get the field goal, though, because he touched it on the rim. Ed Beck tapped it before it settled into the nets, and it's his first field goal of the game as all 5 Cats have scored, although Calvert and Hatton have neither scored a field goal. Kentucky leading 26-13 as Calvert hits the floor. Davis feeds into the right corner to Hardiman. Hardiman mows out, gives to Davis. He's got Brewer on him now. Into Halleck, over his head, and Ed Beck's got it. Passes out to Calvert. Up in front court to Cox to the left side. Cox is fouled and knocked to the floor by Nosensik of Maryland, committing his first foul. That's 6 personals against Maryland. Halts the clock with 3 minutes, 37 seconds in this first half, and Johnny Cox is on the free throw line for 2. Cox up for his first one now. Kentucky holds a 13-point advantage. Cox shoots, hits his 5th straight one. Johnny Cox trying for his 18th point of the game. Hits it. Cox is only 5 points away from his high of the season, which was established in Philadelphia a week ago Saturday. Here's a pass down the left side to McGinnis as Kentucky's advantage is 28-13, their longest of the game. Nosensik, Davis goes through, gets wide open as he loses Calvert and lays it in. Davis gets his 2nd field goal to make it 28-15, and Earl Atkins comes off the Kentucky bench. Vernon Hatton on the right side to Johnny Brewer and moves out to the top of the circle with it. Hands to Beck, breaks by, gets a return pass, and a 15-footer is no good. Missed everything. Rebound taken off by Nosensik of Maryland. Passes out to Hardiman, who moves up in front court for the Terps, going down to the right side near the corner. Out to Nosensik. Nosensik to Davis. Off the left to Halleck. Deep to Nosensik, who's straight away. On the right side to Hardiman and back to Nosensik as Atkins waits to get in as Kentucky's first substitute. Set shot by Davis, no good from 25 feet. Cox rebounds for Kentucky. Mows up the backcourt by himself, past the dividing line, pulls up at the top of the circle, feeds deep to Beck over to Hatton to the right side to Calvert. Calvert fakes, moves in, underhands a pass to Hatton, down the left to Brewer, back to Hatton to Calvert. Calvert on the weak side, gives back to Hatton, straight away, 30 feet, hooks to Beck in the pivot, turns, jump shot. It's no good. Hatton taps no good. Rebound taken off by McGinnis, and Maryland got the ball. Calvert knocked it down, but it was picked up by McGinnis and fed back to Davis. 20-foot jump shot as he's left open is no good. Calvert rebounds, comes by Nick Davis up into front court, walks with it. Coach Adolph Rupp comes up now saying he wants timeout. Jerry Calvert comes out of the ball game. He's being replaced by Earl Atkins, 23-year-old junior from Ashland. Atkins is 6'4", weighs 180, has 6 points this season, an average of 2 points a game. His best night was against Washington and Lee when he scored 3. He'll join Vernon Hatton at a guard. Kentucky's guards tonight have been unable to score. Neither of them has a field goal. Neither Calvert nor Hatton has hit a field goal, and each has hit only 1 free throw. As a matter of fact, Johnny Cox has carried the brunt of the scoring so far. He's hit 6 field goals and 6 free throws, as Kentucky has a 28-15 advantage. 2 minutes and 9 seconds to play in the first half, and this is their first timeout, compared favorably to 1 timeout from Maryland. Maryland broke on top as Brewer fouled Jim Halleck. He dropped in both free throws, but however, Johnny Cox with a jump shot tied it up. Halleck came back, fouled by Cox, missed the free throw, and Cox came back to hit another jump shot to put Kentucky on top, and Maryland only 1 time was able to get the lead away from Kentucky. Halleck hit a layup shot that tied it 4-all. Then he fouled Calvert, who missed the free throw, and O'Brien hit a 30-foot set shot to put Maryland on top, 6-5, but a hook shot by Johnny Brewer put Kentucky on top, 7-6, and the Cats have been there ever since. Back to play now as Maryland has it out of bounds midway down the left side of the backcourt. Nick Davis indicates he's guarding Earl Atkins as he bounces one into Nosensik, moving in front court. Off the left side to Hardiman, back to Davis. Brewer knocked one down off the knee of Halleck, but he saved before it went out of bounds. Feeds to the right corner to McGinnis. McGinnis out to Davis, to Nosensik. Off the left to Halleck. In there to McGinnis. A hook's no good over the rim, and Beck rebounds for Kentucky. Passes her out to Earl Atkins. Up in front court to Johnny Brewer on the left side. High pass, Cox wide open, up to the basket, is fouled as he goes up to lay it in. John Nosensik of Maryland drawing his second foul. That's the 7th foul against Maryland, only 5 against Kentucky. Johnny Cox is on the line, 2 shots coming. Off the Maryland bench is Doc Weingarten, who has been in the game earlier. 1 minute and 42 seconds in the first half as Jim Halleck checks out for the second time in the half. Johnny Cox with 6 field goals, 6 free throws, shooting another pair. Here's the first one, good. Cox and Calvert came into this game tied with 69 points for second place scoring honors. Cox shoots and hits again. That gives him 8 straight free throws, and Kentucky leads 30-15. Maryland attacks now, down by 15 points again. Nosensik to Hardiman in front court to Weingarten. To Nosensik along the top rim of the circle. He moves to the left side. Passes out deep to Davis, to McGinnis on the pivot. 6'7" sophomore holding a ball, not in that 3-second zone. Out to Hardiman. Moving to the right with Cox on him. Turns and comes back deep. Passes to Nick Davis. Davis gives over to Weingarten, who moves down the left side. Holds it over his head as Nosensik breaks out of there. Threatens to Davis going by and then passes deep to Hardiman. Hardiman moves into the top of the circle. Pivots. Passes one almost behind the back of Nick Davis, who feeds a 2-hander into McGinnis. Back to Davis. He takes a 15-foot jump shot. Good. Nick Davis gets his 3rd field goal of the game. That's half of Maryland's field goals. With 50 seconds in the first half, Kentucky's lead is cut back to 13 points. Hatton out deep and straight away with it, setting it up now. Passes to Brewer. Back to Hatton. Hatton threatens to shoot, then gives out to Atkins. Kentucky eyeing the clock, indicating maybe they want just one more shot for halftime intermission. They work it around the horn now. Atkins to Hatton. 26 seconds to play. Over to Johnny Brewer and out to Earl Atkins. Well, Maryland has set down into a definite pattern and played it that way all the way. Here's a quick pass shot into the pivot to back to Atkins, moving in the right corner. Double team, bounce on the baseline to Cox, under the basket, threatens to shoot, then passes out to Brewer with 8 seconds to go. Over to Hatton, he sets, and the pivot to Beck. He takes a 20-foot jump shot that's no good, and the first half ends without another shot. Side to O'Brien, back to Davis to Nosensik. Into the pivot to Perry Moore, back to O'Brien, breaks to the baseline, double teamed by Beck and Hatton and passes deep to Halleck. Halleck fakes right, cuts back down the middle, spins back to the outside. Brewer hangs right with him as he feeds O'Brien with Beck on him. He spins in, walks with it, trying to get a fallaway shot over Beck. Out of bounds quickly, the pass is in from Hatton to Calvert to Johnny Cox on the left side, back out to Hatton. Pass to Calvert down the right side to Brewer, who moves out with it to the top rim of the circle, flips to Cox, threatens to shoot, moves in, double teamed. Passes out to Johnny Brewer. Brewer to Beck on the free throw line. Back to Calvert. Cuts to go down the middle. It closes, and he gives to Cox, who shoots and hits. Johnny Cox with his 7th field goal. His 22nd point of the game. Puts Kentucky on top 32-17. Cox needs another field goal to give him the biggest offensive night of the season for this Hazard sophomore. Perry Moore of Maryland in front court for the Terps to Nosensik to Davis, the right side to O'Brien. Whips one to Perry Moore, playing on the right side of the 3-second zone. Turns and hits at one-hand jump shot. Perry Moore with his 3rd field goal of the game. Here is Nosensik knocking one down away from Johnny Brewer. Maryland's got it as Nick Davis drives in. He lays it in good, and Calvert fouls him. It's the 3rd foul on Calvert. Score is 32-21 now as Maryland makes a spurt with Nick Davis dropping in his 4th field goal of the game. Davis has hit one and missed one on the free throw line, and hit or miss, he gets only one shot. It's good. So Maryland picks up 5 straight points in the Wildcats and cuts the lead down to 10 at 32-22. Johnny Brewer over to Calvert, moving to the right side, breaking by, lays it in, no good. Rolled off to Nosensik of Maryland. Maryland got 5 points in without Kentucky getting a shot at the basket. Now on the left side, Perry Moore feeds off to the left to Nosensik. Back out to Davis. Kentucky has a 10-point lead on the strength of a 32-22 score. Perry Moore jump shot over Beck's good. 2nd straight field goal for Moore. His 4th of the game, and Kentucky's lead is only 8 points, 32-24. These Terps have come out fighting. Here's Calvert on the right side over to Cox. Goes down the middle, collides into Nosensik, and the foul on Johnny Cox is his 2nd one. Kentucky is rapidly getting into trouble. They've had a 15-point lead go down to 8 as Maryland reeled off 7 straight points, allowing Kentucky just 1 shot at the basket. And the Cats still haven't had a shot at the basket, as Necencic could give Maryland 9 points, while Kentucky was getting only 1 shot. Necencic, Maryland's leading scorer, has not scored tonight. He shoots and hits. This will be rare indeed. If Necencic should hit this one, that Maryland should run off 9 straight points while Kentucky doesn't score. He missed it, but Halleck rebounds and lays it up good. Well, it's even more phenomenal as they run off 10 straight points. Kentucky's got to take time out. Maryland has knocked in 10 points, and Kentucky's had only 1 shot at the basket. Timeout for Kentucky is their second of the ball game. This is a phenomenal thing. In a ball game, it's been rocking along here very, very slowly. Maryland came down for a field goal by Perry Moore. Moore hit a 10-foot jump shot. Then Davis, taking the ball away from Kentucky, drove in all the way. He was fouled by Calvert, dropped in the free throw. Kentucky put it in play. It was knocked away from Brewer, picked up by Moore, and he dropped in his second field goal of this half. Then Johnny Cox fouled Necencic. He dropped in a free throw, missed the second one, but Halleck picked it up and pitched it in. So Maryland, from 32 to 17 at halftime, has come up to 32 to 28. 32 to 27, rather. Now the Cats have the ball at the baseline in backcourt. After 1 minute and 56 seconds of play is all it's taken Maryland to do this damage. So Kentucky now nursing a 5-point lead with Hatton back in front court. Kentucky overloads the court to the right. Hatton off the top of the circle, shoots and misses. Tap to the outside, taken by Maryland. Davis hooks one up high in the air, and Necencic goes in wide open and gets it. Necensic's first field goal of the ball game. Kentucky's lead 32 to 29, and have the Cats come apart here. Here's a pass to Cox on the left side. Spins, shoots over Halleck, no good. Moore has it. Brewer knocks it away and out of bounds off his hand, and Kentucky gets it. Well, Kentucky definitely is not the scrapping team that it has been all season, and they're in trouble right now. Here's a foul on Maryland's Jim Halleck. It's his third of the ball game as Brewer was putting it in play. Calvert was pushed. Kentucky's guards tonight, Calvert and Hatton, running 1-2 in the scoring, do not have a field goal. Here's Calvert shooting one. It's good. That's Kentucky's first point, or rather first free throw of this half. Into the ball game, John Krigler. Johnny Brewer coming out. Krigler, 6'3", weighs 180. 20-year-old junior from Hebron. Has 26 points, an average of 6.5 a game. Best night against Miami, where he scored 9. Calvert shooting and hitting the bonus shot for his third point of the game. Kentucky leads 34 to 29. Back on top by 5 points. Up in front court is Halleck of Maryland. Out to O'Brien to Davis. The Terps have the spark right now. They're hustling and scooting around. Here's Halleck out with it. Breaks to the right. He's got Krigler on him. Turns. Krigler jumps, and he goes by him and lays it up no good. Ed Beck rebounds. Flips it to Calvert. Up the way to Krigler. Kentucky's running now. Passed over to Calvert on the right. Over to Johnny Cox. He's open from 10 feet. It's good. Johnny Cox gets his 8th field goal. This is the most Cox has ever scored in a varsity ball game. Kentucky leads 36 to 29. Breaking in is O'Brien to the left side. He's picked up by Beck. Gets a high pass out to Nick Davis at the top of the circle. Over the left side to Necencic and back to Davis. Kentucky seems to have come back after being slugged to the ropes by a run of 10 points by these Terps when they were trailing by 15. Here's a quick one by O'Brien, no good. Calvert picks off the rebound. Whips a high one away to Johnny Cox, who has it knocked away by Necencic out of bounds. Kentucky will put it in play on the left side of the offensive court. Pass along some scores to you here in just a moment as Calvert out of bounds. Passes very deep to Hatton at the dividing line. Vernon Hatton moving to the right side now. Bounces one to Cox, back to Hatton. Coming across is Krigler. Gets the pass right back to Hatton. Hatton moves back out with it, set it up. Cox goes to the pivot now. Over to Krigler to Calvert. He sets, breaks to the right on Nick Davis, and shoots it up no good. He's knocked to the floor. The foul on Nick Davis of Maryland is his first one of the ball game. 2 shots come to Jerry Calvert, who's hit 3 out of 4. 16 minutes and 6 seconds here in the first in this ball game as Calvert goes up for the first shot. Hatton is back, and Calvert shoots good. Calvert up for the second shot. It's good, and Kentucky, after Maryland moved to within 3 points, has picked up 6, and it's 38 to 29. Here's Halleck on the right side. Hooks one that Calvert knocks down, almost out of bounds. Halleck retreats and gets it. Passing on the baseline to the right to Perry Moore with Krigler on him. Fleets back to O'Brien. Had an open shot, but Cox knocked it away from him out of bounds. Maryland puts it in play over the baseline to the left of the basket. 6'4" Perry Moore bounces into the left corner to Davis, out to O'Brien, to Halleck, down the right to Nasincic. Nasincic whips it under there to Moore. It's knocked away, picked up by Nasincic in the right corner. Out deep to Bob O'Brien. O'Brien off the left side to Nick Davis, back to O'Brien. Whips into Perry Moore on the pivot, spins to his left into the 3-second zone, gives to Davis. Jump shot good off the free throw line. Nick Davis gets his 5th field goal and 12th point for Maryland. 38-31 the score. Kentucky leading as Vernon Hatton comes back in front court with it. Flips over to Jerry Calvert, down the right to Krigler. Out deep to Hatton. He sets and moves off to the right and shoots short. Tapped up by Beck, no good. Knocked down on the floor, picked up by Nick Davis of Maryland. He's got a 2-on-1 against Calvert, who turns him to the right side. Over to O'Brien, starts down the middle, and Cox cuts him off at the free throw line. To Halleck, to Nick Davis on the left side, to Nasincic. He fouls, charging into John Krigler. For John Nasincic, that's his 3rd foul. Also 3 personals against Halleck, also 3 against Moore. Calvert of Kentucky has committed 3. 14 minutes and 56 seconds in this ball game. Kentucky's guards, Calvert and Hatton, have now played 25 minutes without a field goal. John Krigler on the free throw line for Kentucky hits. Krigler gets a bonus shot as Kentucky leads again by 8 points. Krigler sights. It is good. Kentucky 40, Maryland 31. Terps coming back to the move now as Bob O'Brien comes in front court. Gives a bounce pass to Halleck on the right side, who takes a 1-bounce dribble and passes out to Davis. Over to O'Brien, down the left corner to Nasincic. He's got Hatton on him, fakes him, and lays it in driving. Nasincic picks up his 2nd field goal, both in this half, and it's 40-33. Kentucky with a 7-point lead. Calvert in front court sets for a 30-footer that's way short. Hatton rebounds and lays it up, no good, but he's fouled on the play. Nasincic draws personal foul number 4. And he's going to be relieved by Bob Hardiman. Vernon Hatton, who has only 1 point in this ball game, is on the free throw line for 2 shots, we believe. That's right, 2 free throws coming. Hatton shoots, and the shot is no good. Bob Hardiman's in the ball game now as John Nasincic, with those 4 personals, comes out.
For Maryland, number 30, Bob Hardiman.
Hatton up for his 2nd shot. It's good. Now Maryland attacks, trailing by 8 points. Halleck in front court, whips a high one to Moore in the pivot. Fakes, drives under. Beck crowds him out of bounds. Moore forced out of bounds. Maryland keeps possession right in front of their own bench. Pass in the right corner to Hardiman, to Halleck. Spins into the free throw line, gives out to Davis, to O'Brien, to Perry Moore on the pivot. Hands off to O'Brien. Goes to the baseline on a 1-bounce dribble. Hooks a pass out deep to Hardiman. He moves over to the right, takes a 20-foot jump shot that's good. Hardiman gets his 1st field goal to cut the Kentucky lead back to 6 points, 41-35, as we're going to the last 14 minutes. Calvert to Krigler on the left side, back to Calvert. Hatton goes through, pass to Cox, top of the circle. Breaks to the right, pulls up, takes a 10-foot jump shot. It's good. Johnny Cox gets his 9th field goal of the ball game, his 26th point, to lead Kentucky into a 43-35 advantage. Here's Hardiman on the left side for Maryland, passing out deep to Nick Davis, down the right side to Bob O'Brien, into Perry Moore in the pivot. Moore moves on a 1-bounce dribble and gives to Nick Davis. He's covered up as Beck switches off. Out to Hardiman. Falls back away from Hatton, but does not shoot. Passes over to Nick Davis. He weaves and bobs, but doesn't move. Over to Bob O'Brien. He drives on Cox, spins and goes by him, and Cox bumps him. The foul. Johnny Cox, number 3. Into the Maryland lineup is Doc Weingarten. Going out is Jim Halleck with 13 minutes, 18 seconds to play. Bob O'Brien makes his 1st appearance at the free throw line. He missed a free throw last year that would have tied Kentucky with 40 seconds to play. He drops it in and has a bonus shot coming. As Kentucky's lead is trimmed back to 7 points. Now 6 as the bonus shot's good, 43-37. Calvert in front court, high pass to Krigler, under the basket, hooks it up, no good. Johnny Cox taps it in. That's 10 field goals for Cox and 28 points as Kentucky leads 45-37. Up in front court, Hardiman to O'Brien. Off the left side to Perry Moore. Beck letting him have the shot, and he takes it. No good. Krigler knocks it down. Calvert gets it, and Moore takes it away from him. Passing one out to Weingarten now, breaks to the right, going near the corner. Bounces out on 2 hops to O'Brien, who pulls it up between his legs over to Davis to Perry Moore. Moore hands off to O'Brien. He's got the shot blocked by Cox, picked up by Calvert. Bad pass off the shoulder of Cox, picked up by Hatton in front court to Cox. He fakes, has it knocked away from him, but fouled by Weingarten. Weingarten of Maryland committing his first personal. Stopping the clock with 12 minutes, 35 seconds to go. Johnny Cox up for 1. Kentucky has an 8-point advantage. Johnny Cox has scored 28 points here tonight. Settling down at the free throw line and shooting good. Bonus shot for Cox. So Wildcats lead by 9. They came into this half with a 13-point lead, and Maryland reeled off 10 points as they moved to within 3. Cox shoots good for the 10th straight time at the free throw line. 47-37, Kentucky leads. Maryland attacking now. Nick Davis in front court, down the right side to Weingarten, out to Bob O'Brien. A one-bounce dribble and quickly over to Hardiman. Then to Nick Davis. He moves out of there to the 3-second zone. Can't get Calvert off of him. Passes over to O'Brien. Back out to Nick Davis deep and straight away. Whips a two-handed pass to Weingarten. Moves into the 3-second zone. Walks with it, and it's out of bounds to Kentucky. Vernon Hatton gets a short shot coming in from out of bounds. Then flips it in to Calvert. Back to Hatton, moving up in front court with it. Off the left side to Krigler. Back to Hatton. Calvert goes through. Hatton threatens to him, then gives to Beck, and a 20-foot jump shot short. Off the rim. Hardiman of Maryland's got it, and Krigler slipped in and tied him up. Fine play by John Krigler. Krigler stands 6'3". Hardiman stands 6'3" at the Kentucky free throw line. We're into the last 12 minutes of this ball game here at the Coliseum. Here's the tap by Krigler to Beck. Hands to Hatton, and a 20-footer. It's no good. Tap by Krigler. He rebounds and shoots no good. Then more rebounds for Maryland and falls over the photographers as he goes out of bounds carrying it. It's Kentucky's ball. Beck lines him up, calls his play. Passes on the bounce to Cox, who is fouled as he jumps to shoot right across the arms by Weingarten with his second personal foul of the game. Johnny Cox back on the line. 2 shots coming. 11 minutes and 41 seconds in the ball game. Kentucky leads Maryland by 10 points. Jim Halleck comes off the Maryland bench as the first free throw by Cox is good. Halleck checks in. Weingarten goes out. Cox seems to wilt as he backs up a stride after each free throw. He gives Kentucky a lead of 11 points. Shoots the second one. It's good. And that's 12 straight for him. 12 free throws, 10 field goals. 32 points for Johnny Cox. He trails Maryland by just 5 points. Here's Perry Moore in front court for Maryland. Out to Halleck to Davis. Davis moving to a position straight away about 35 feet. Sets and pops it up high and good. Beautiful shot by Nick Davis for his 6th field goal. Kentucky 49, Maryland 39. Vernon Hatton in front court to Calvert. Down the right side to Krigler, back to Calvert. Hatton goes through, pass to Cox, back to Calvert, over to Beck on the free throw line. Hands to Calvert, flips off to Krigler on the left side. 15-footer is short. High off the rim is Beck for a beautiful rebound and just dropped off, and Halleck rebounds for Maryland. Over to Davis, to Hardiman to Davis. Starts down the middle, flips off, and here's a blocking foul called. Check it, it's charging against Davis of Maryland. It's his 2nd foul. 10 minutes, 57 seconds in this ball game. As we wait for the free throw here now, Ed Beck will be shooting it. It is Beck's first appearance at the free throw line. He got a field goal in the first half. Kentucky with a 10-point lead. Beck hits. Beck, incidentally, has scored no less than 8 points in each game this season. He got 9 against St. Louis. Shoots and misses. Has the rebound tapped to him by Cox, and the jump shot's no good. Krigler goes to knock it down, and he's called for pushing. First foul on John Krigler. Now we march the length of the court for a Maryland free throw, so let's take 10 seconds for station identification. This is the Standard Oil Sports Network.
WVLK, Lexington, Kentucky, 3 minutes past 9 o'clock.
Once again, this is Claude Sullivan from the Coliseum in Lexington. 6'4" Perry Moore of Maryland makes his first appearance at the free throw line for the Terps, shooting 1. Sights, shoots good. Kentucky's lead trimmed back to 10 points, 50-40. Moore tries to get into double figures now with his bonus shot. Sights, shoots, no good. Halleck taps behind him to Moore, who backed out into the top of the circle, gives to Nick Davis. He moves into the spot, then gives over to Hardiman, to Halleck on the right side. He weaves and jumps, and the shot's short. Krigler is fouled by Halleck as he goes up to get the rebound. For Halleck, that's 4 personals. Also 4 against Nosensik, who's not in the game, and that brings Coach Milliken off the Maryland bench. 10 minutes, 41 seconds to go. Tennessee has defeated Sewanee tonight. Final score is Tennessee 79, Sewanee 48. LaSalle defeats Niagara by 9 points. LaSalle 83, Niagara 74. Here's Krigler on the Kentucky free throw line hitting for his 3rd straight and draws the bonus shot. Brown has beaten Penn tonight by 6 points. Brown 72, Pennsylvania 66. Krigler's bonus shot is good, and into the Maryland lineup comes Weingarten. Going out is Halleck with those 4 personals. Kentucky 52, Maryland 40, as Krigler drops in both free throws. Maryland attacking as Nick Davis works the right side to Moore. Back to Bob O'Brien, breaking by. Jump shot over Beck is short. Knocked down, a fight for the ball. Calvert goes for it, slaps it out of bounds, and it's over to Maryland, right in front of Coach Adolph Rupp. Moore passes into the left corner to Davis, out to O'Brien. Breaks by Cox and lays it up. Beck made a beautiful block of the shot, but he touched him with his arm, and the foul on Ed Beck is number 2. 10 minutes, 19 seconds to go. Bob Milliken violently protesting from the Maryland bench about something. Apparently it is to do with whether the shot should count or not. Fans hoping it up. Jim Beersdorfer and Bud Milliken talk it over there for a few minutes. Bob O'Brien of Maryland on the free throw line. He hasn't missed. Shoots, and it's no good. Calvert was in ready to play. But there's another one coming as O'Brien was fouled in the act of shooting. Second shot's good. 52-41. Kentucky has an 11-point lead as Vernon Hatton feeds it to Jerry Calvert. Moving in front court on the left side to Krigler. Moving out quickly, gets to Hatton. Whips one in there to Johnny Cox to the left. Moves out into the corner. Looks for somebody open. Bounces one to Ed Beck out front to Calvert. Calvert backs away, works the right side to Krigler. Back to Calvert, out to Cox. Here's a 25-foot jump shot. It is no good. Perry Moore rebounds, and Krigler ties him up. Moore at 6'4" will have 1-inch height advantage for Maryland on the Kentucky free throw line. We're into the last 10 minutes of the second half now. Here's the tap by Moore, and Hatton scoops it up for Kentucky. Mows down, hooks over to Beck, lays it to Krigler. 10-footer is good. John Krigler with his first field goal of the ball game. His 6th point makes it 54-41 for the Wildcats. Here's O'Brien to Weingarten to Hardiman to Davis. Down on the left of the 3-second zone to Moore. Bounced it off Bob O'Brien's head and back out deep. He picked it up, feeds to Nick Davis. Back to O'Brien. 35-foot set shot to the left. Bounces to the right. Beck pushes off, going for the rebound. And that's his 3rd personal foul. Pushed into Perry Moore. So with 9.5 minutes to play, Perry Moore goes to the Maryland free throw line, where he has hit one and missed one. He has 4 Maryland field goals. Kentucky with a 13-point lead. Exactly what they came into this half with. As Moore misses, the rebound is knocked out deep on the bounce to Nick Davis. Down the left side, the pass to Weingarten, out to Hardiman, straight away to Nick Davis. Calvert takes it away. It's pass to Perry Moore, up to Krigler. Cats fast break. Nobody goes with Krigler. Knocked out of his hands, picked up by Calvert. Fed it over to Johnny Cox in the left corner. Fans yelling shoot over there on that side of the Coliseum as Calvert feeds it right back. Cox pumps away. Good. 11 field goals for Johnny Cox. Kentucky leads 56-41. It is timeout, Maryland. Their 2nd timeout. Johnny Cox, 11 field goals and 12 free throws. Kentucky holds a 15-point advantage. After 11 minutes of the second half, they have outscored Maryland by only 2 points. We'd like to invite you to join us again Tuesday night over these same stations at 7 o'clock. That'll be from Durham, where Kentucky plays Duke. Broadcast time, 7 o'clock. Well, Georgetown won a close game tonight. the Tigers got a 1-point win from LMU. Georgetown, Kentucky 63, Lincoln Memorial 62. In the East tonight, Columbia beat Army. Columbia 76, Army 57. Princeton beat Navy by 10 points. Princeton 77, Navy 67. And Richmond beat Virginia Military. Richmond 85, VMI 68. Well, as we go back to play after only the fourth time out of the ball game, Maryland has it at the dividing line with 9 minutes to play, and Kentucky leading. Johnny Cox has come out on the floor now to pick up Bob O'Brien. Pass in as the Terps go to the attack. O'Brien down into the right corner. Nasincic has come back into the Terp lineup. Passes out to Davis down the left to Weingarten. Weingarten spins in, then flips off to O'Brien on the right side. O'Brien gets away from Cox and lays it up good. Bob O'Brien with his second field goal of the game cuts the Kentucky lead back to 13 points. Jerry Calvert in front court for the Wildcats. Bounce to Krigler on the right side. Back to Calvert. Hatton goes through. Cox gets it. Flips right back to Calvert. Over to Beck at the free throw line. Back to Calvert. A screen. 30-foot set shot. Good. That's Kentucky's first point from the outside. As Calvert gets the field goal, Kentucky's guards had played better than 31 minutes without a single field goal. Kentucky leads by 15 points, 58-43. O'Brien fakes Cox again, and Cox fouled him trying to walking on O'Brien. Krigler was going to put it in play a little bit in advance of where walking was called, and the official made him go back and put it in at the spot where the walking infraction occurred, or spot nearest to it. Calvert in front court over to Johnny Cox. Back to Calvert. Waves Cox into the right forward position, then passes to Hatton rather. Bounce pass to Krigler on the left side, back to Hatton. Calvert goes through, pass to Cox. Cuts in, holds on as the ball's almost knocked away from him. Passes in on the baseline to Krigler, who goes under wide open and hooks it back and in. John Krigler gets his second field goal, 8th point of the game. He did not play in the first half. Kentucky leading 60-43. Harry Moore gets it on the left side for the Terps. Passes out to Davis, deep to Weingarten. Off the right to Bob O'Brien. We're on the left to Davis. 25-foot set shots over the rim. Right into the hands of Hatton, who dropped it, scooped it up, fed to Calvert. Calvert in front court. Passes to Krigler, moving down the right side. Whips over to Beck at the free throw line. Moves right, breaks down, hooks and hits. Ed Beck with his second field goal. 5th point, makes it 62-43 with 7 minutes to go. Out of bounds as Weingarten drops a pass. We're into the last 7 minutes of play now. Timeout Maryland. It's their third timeout of the ball game. Kentucky leading 62-43, 19 points, and it's their biggest lead of the game. Let us remind you once again, Kentucky's next action will be Tuesday night. And over these same stations at 7 o'clock Central Standard Time, we'll be broadcasting from the Duke Indoor Stadium at Durham, North Carolina. Wildcats Blue Devils as Kentucky plays their second straight Atlantic Coast Conference opponent. 7 o'clock broadcast time, Central Standard Time over these same stations. And next weekend is the big weekend, when over these same stations we'll be broadcasting all 4 games of the University of Kentucky Invitational Tournament. It starts next Friday night at 7:30, broadcast time 7:15, when Illinois of the Big Ten meets Dayton, the defending champs. And in the second game, Kentucky plays Southern Methodist. Saturday night, the losers play for third place. The winners play for the championship. Kentucky has the ball off the side of the back court as we go back to play for 6 minutes, 56 seconds. Kentucky 62, Maryland 43. Now Calvert moves up in front court for the Wildcats. Gives over to Vernon Hatton. A bounce pass to Beck. Back to Calvert, to Hatton rather, over to Krigler. Jump shot, it's no good, and Beck taps it up, no good. Fight for the ball, O'Brien rolls it out. Calvert cuts it off, pass to Krigler. 5-foot jump shot, no good. Taken off by Weingarten to Maryland. Got a man wide open, but Calvert slaps it beautifully behind. He's back to Johnny Cox and intercepting the pass. Cox moves up, pulls up in the free throw line. Pivots, flips over to Calvert, breaking down the left side. Back out to Johnny Cox. 25-foot jump shot, no good. Missed everything. Krigler with a blind save, too late. Maryland gets it. Up in front court, Weingarten breaks into the right, takes a jump shot that's good from 5 feet up the alley. Weingarten's first field goal of the ball game. 62-45 as Halleck waits to come in for the Terps. Off the left side to Krigler, back to Calvert for Kentucky along the top rim of the circle. He backs away to set it up again. Krigler to Cox at the top of the circle, breaks to the left, then turns and comes back outside, passing to Vernon Hatton, over to Calvert. Calvert working to the right side now. Back out to Hatton, to Calvert, back to Hatton, down the left side to Johnny Cox. Here goes a 20-foot jump shot, no good. O'Brien of Maryland rebounds. Out to Nosensik, back to O'Brien, moving up in front court with it. O'Brien passes left to Davis, back to O'Brien, deep straight away. Off to Weingarten, moves out to the free throw line, gives to Davis, fakes Calvert, Krigler cuts him off. Passes into O'Brien, turns for a quick 10-footer over Cox, no good. Calvert drops the rebound, and Cox picks it up on the bounce. Over to Calvert, up in front court to Hatton on the left side. Back to Calvert at the free throw line. He eases off to the right to the baseline, hooks out to Beck, right back to Calvert. Open from 5 feet, it's good. Jerry Calvert gets his second field goal, and Kentucky leads 64-45. Their second 19-point lead of the game with 5 minutes to play. Davis down the right side to Nosensik. Goes into the corner, passes one to Weingarten. It's slapped down by Krigler, picked up by Calvert, handed to Beck and right back to Calvert. Up in front court. Knocked away by Nick Davis of Maryland from John Krigler and out of bounds as Ray Mills comes off with a sweat jacket. And you're hearing a cheer now for Mills, who's getting ready to come in for the first time this season. Jerry Calvert gets the pass down the right side to Cox. Fakes, breaks by Weingarten, and steps out of bounds. Goes over to Maryland. Ray Mills fractured a jaw about 10 days before the season opened, and he's just now getting back in. Plays with a headgear. 64-45 Kentucky leads as Nosensik hooks it off the left side of the pivot to Moore, and the hook shot is good. Perry Moore with his 5th field goal makes it 64-47, and Ray Mills comes in for Kentucky. Jim Halleck checks in for Maryland. Ray Mills gets a great hand. One of the best-liked Kentucky players from down at Manchester, where he played for Clay County. 23-year-old senior. Mills 6'4", weighs 199. He played last year against Maryland, but did not score. Krigler's coming out. Krigler did a fine job in reserve. He picked up 8 points. 4 minutes and 11 seconds here in the first half. Kentucky on top by 64-47. Johnny Cox led the scoring with 20 points in the first half. Here in the second half, he has 14 points. His 34 points sets a new standard for the season as far as field goals are concerned, or rather points concerned. The most scored so far this season was by Hatton when he hit 29 against Miami. He had 11 field goals, and that's what Johnny Cox has right now. He had 10 free throws. Cox has already broken that. He has 12. So Cox has established 2 highs for the season right here. One more free throw will equal Hatton's 13, which he tried. Here's Kentucky coming back to the attack now with Hatton in front court, holding a 17-point lead for Kentucky. Over to Ray Mills, breaks right, feeds Cox down the right to Calvert. Calvert, as we go up into the last 4 minutes of play, moves out deep with it to set it up. Passes over to Hatton. Nope. Gives back to Cox on the right side. In the pivot to Beck, it's knocked down, but Cox is in there to pick it up and back away deep with it to protect against Halleck. Over to Vernon Hatton in the pivot to Beck. Beck foul, but John Nosensik, and that's his last one. No, wait a minute. Beck for picking is the foul. That's personal foul number 4 on Ed Beck. Johnny Cox comes out of the game and gets a nice hand as he leaves. Jerry Calvert's coming out. Bill Cassidy and Adrian Smith now in the Kentucky lineup. Bill Cassidy, 20-year-old junior from Inez, 6'2", weighs 191, has 9 points this season for an average of 3 points a game. Best night against Miami, where he scored 5. He had 2 points last year against Maryland. Adrian Smith, a 19-year-old junior from Farmington, is 6 feet, weighs 178. Has 6 points, an average of 3 points a game. Best night against Miami when he scored 4. Nosensik of Maryland shooting and hitting. He gets a bonus shot. It's good. Kentucky 64, Maryland 49. As Vernon Hatton, Ed Beck are the only 2 regulars still in. Cassidy playing forward, gets the pass, gives over to Adrian Smith, breaks in wide open. Perry Moore blocked him, and the foul on Moore is number 4.